Welcome back to Fitness or Fiction, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the hype of the health and fitness industry.
Every week, we dig into a new topic and help you wade through the real information to make solid decisions on your fitness journey. 3, 2, 1, boom, we're live.
Welcome, sir. You ready to talk about Dunning-Krueger?
Yes, today on Fitness or Fiction, we're going to talk about Dunning-Krueger effect, and that's not Freddy Krueger.
It's not. No. The Dunning-Krueger effect is a very interesting thing. I've talked about this a lot with people, and it's important as far as the learning process goes, I think.
Yeah, so why are we talking about this?
So, in your learning process, when we talk about helping people make quality decisions towards their fitness goals, one of the things that you're going to go through is this concept of, you know what, I think I have the answer to that. And your confidence in that answer is going to be relatively high. And then you're going to take this extra step, and all of a sudden it's going to be like confidence crashes. Like, crap, I feel like I don't know anything. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced this recently with a number of clients where they're like, oh no, I know how to make my shoulder better. And I'll just say, okay, cool. So is it better? And the answer is no. And it's like, okay, well, let's just see what's available. And it's like, you need to learn how to protract. Here's what it looks like. You need to learn how to do that. They're like, but I've always been told I need to keep my shoulder back. And you just see this kind of crash in confidence happen. And it's like, listen, I'm not telling you that everything that you know isn't good. I'm just saying that there's more to know. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So the Dunning-Krueger effect is something that's worth talking about because it impacts every lifelong learner. If you're looking to get better at something, you're going to have these peaks and valleys of confidence. And usually they're going to correlate with learning more, which is a good thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing, like, I guess in context, you know, when I first became a trainer, like 11 years ago, I walked in for my interview and he started asking me questions like, you know, what are the muscles of the thigh? What's hypertrophy mean? And he started asking me these questions and I was like, oh, damn. You know, they didn't actually cover some of that basic stuff in the basic course that I took at the time, like just being entry-level course, entry-level trainer. The word hypertrophy never hit my plate in my course, and I'm not even going to say the course.
Muscle gain, bro.
Yeah, it essentially just means muscle gain. But, you know, I reached a point where I'm pretty strong, I'm pretty athletic, I know what it takes to get into shape. And then, you know, I had this job interview and my confidence just crashed. And then I got a little bit smarter, learned a little bit more, and I thought I had all the answers again. And then, again, like you said, I took a course. I'd take Olympic weightlifting with you or a kettlebell course or something like that. And then I'm like, oh, damn, like, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I don't have all the answers. Oh, damn. And then you have to apply that new information. And it's kind of, again, peaks and valleys of learning and feeling like you got a handle on things. Even now, 11 years in, we just did a podcast on exercise effects on the brain. And I'm still like, like, oh my God, like there's still so much more to it that we don't like. You know, some of those words I had to be like, how do you even pronounce this one? How do you pronounce this word? And again, just these peaks and valleys. To me, I wanted to talk about it in the context of new coaches and new trainers, because I know you mentor trainers right now, and I've mentored trainers in the past when I was managing the team. And then also taking the context of Gen Pop, whether you're a client or whether you're just an avid exerciser. I think I've bumped into a lot of avid exercisers or just Gen Pop people who are working out in the gym who they do their own routine because they know what works for them, you know? I know exactly what I'm doing, and they just do the same routine in the gym every single day, but I haven't seen anything change. So we're going to dance around this Freddy Krueger effect.
Well, the interesting thing when you look at this is it's so important for learning in general. When I like to say with fitness, because that's my field, I like to say when you think you have all of the answers, when you think you're done learning, is when you start going backwards, because we don't have that good of an understanding on things as of yet. And it's getting better. It's far better than it was.
Humans in general.
Yeah, like especially when we talk about the inner workings of the brain, like that stuff gets really, really challenging. Like even the concept of how you create electrical energy from chemical energy at the brain level. Yeah. Like the basic setup of that is a huge matzo ball. Yeah. So when I talked to somebody in general, there was a guy that was working out and he was doing pull downs with his back arch and his elbows back. And I asked him if he was trying to work his lats. I was like, you want to learn another way? And he's like, okay. So I showed him, and he just,
Surprisingly, I thought you were going to be like, nah, I'm good. I know what I'm doing.
well, I thought he was too, like the way he was looking. And he's like, okay, yeah, show me. So I showed him. And then he tried it one time. I was like, hey, can you feel the difference? Can you see why that would work better? He's like, not really. And just went back to what he was doing. But I was like, okay, well, I can't hate on the guy. Like, you don't want to change a bunch of stuff. But at least he heard it out. I think in a lot of scenarios, we get so comfortable thinking that we have the answer that we can really go down a challenging path. And, you know, offering programs the way that I do, oftentimes I'll have people tell me, no, I have good technique. And I'm like, oh man, you know, that is subject matter specific, depending on what we're doing, what your skill set looks like. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, you have good technique. Show me this drill. Show me this drill. Show me this drill. And I wouldn't look at somebody and say, no, my technique's perfect. I still have a coach. And it's not because I don't have quality information on what I'm doing. It's because I know that there's always another step. And if you continue to do that, you can really get good at something.
Yeah. I think for me, the outcome I wanted to have of this podcast is the Dunning-Kruger effect to me. And I think you've given me this praise or compliment a lot, that like I'm always an open book and I'm humble and I'm always trying to learn. I truly feel that way, especially when I'm in the presence of guys like yourself, or guys who are way smarter than me, or who are just more educated on the matters, or, you know, maybe I'm beating myself up. Maybe we're just equal, but they just have new information that I haven't consumed yet. Like, to me, I feel like I can learn something from everyone. And when people don't have that open mindset, it kind of hurts me, because I'm like, man, you're really closed off to think that you're the magical specimen that has all the answers. Like, it's very delusional thinking. So to kind of sound like, you know, I just said I'm the open book and I wish everyone else could, like, I can learn something from everyone. Now, more on the douchier side of it, myself being the douche, when I'm talking with somebody who is very close-minded like that, you know, it's so easy to essentially just shut them down. Like, if I go and sit down with a guy and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, so you're about to start the gym, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about what your initial game plan should be when you come in here. And they're like, you know what, man? Like, you know what, young buck? Like, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. And it's like, well, like, you're not even willing to have a discussion or a conversation to actually learn, like, other avenues or open your horizons up. And a lot of the time, like, it's just it's very stubbornness that drives me nuts. And we talked about, you know, you need like 5,000 hours under your belt to be a master of something. 10,000 hours. So for me and you working in this industry for over 10 years apiece, you closer to 15 than me. He's old.
Almost 20.
Almost 20. So, but 10 years for me is over 10,000 hours. So that would classify me relatively as a master, which I don't classify myself, because I'm still learning new stuff all the time. But I think I got a handle on the basics at least, and I can dabble into the mediums.
Oh man, like when you start looking at the amount of hours it takes, it's like, how many skills can you say you're a master of? Because there's so many skills.
Yeah, and so where I was trying to take this to finish off is, you know, somebody is like, oh, I know what I'm doing. It's like, oh, cool. So you've been exercising for the last 10 years, twice a week. I've been engulfed in this 6 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day, thousands and thousands of hours, and I'm still learning how to optimize things, how to improve things, how to cue them better. Like, the list goes on and on and on. So for somebody to just have the answers, it blows me away. It's a huge, it's the ego drives me insane when somebody's ego is so big and so grandeur that they think they're above everyone else.
Sometimes I think it's Machiavellianism, though. Like, they're trying to put on a front that they're at a certain place. Like, sometimes they do believe that, but I think sometimes they're just trying to put on a front that they're there, because it's hard to face head on, right?
Yeah.
And here's a little anecdote. I watched this show called Forged in Fire. They have 3 hours to make a blade, and then they test these blades and whatever else. There was this one episode where the guy, he finishes early, which nobody ever does. Everyone's always freaking about the clock. He's like, oh, no, I'll just do more damage if I keep working on it now. So he just cleans up the blade and puts it on his anvil, and he's waiting and just lets the last 25 minutes go. And the host of the show is like, he made the best blade on earth, everybody. No more work to be done. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's how I feel when somebody says, no, I don't have anything to learn there. I'm like, you know, man, you'd be surprised how much there is to learn there. Yeah. And even the general concept, I had somebody ask me recently, like, why would you choose a rep range like 8 of 8 with 30 seconds rest? I'm like, well, we're trying to stimulate the AMPK system. And that stands for the following, and here's the reasons that we're doing it, and here's what you'll expect, and whatever. And he goes, yeah, but why not 3 of 10? I'm like, oh, man, slow down. How about this? The burden of proof isn't on me. The The burden of proof is on you. Why 3 of 10? Tell me what stimulus you're looking for. Tell me what intensity, how many reps to failure, what sort of rest. Tell me all of that, and then we can have a real conversation.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I'm better than you at this. That just means if I can give you all that data on what I'm doing, why don't you back up what your strategy would be? And then we can have a conversation, because as soon as somebody says this is the best rep range, I'm just going to go ahead and say false.
Yeah.
The way the human body works is the best rep range right now is not the best rep range in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Or even 3.
To throw some positivity on this, I've dealt with a lot of people in the gym industry, obviously, who are very closed-minded and they have all the answers. They know what they're doing. I've also dealt with some extremely humble monsters who were either way stronger than me or became way stronger than me in a short period of time. These guys were like 220, 230, just big boys in the gym who I actually like offered to train and show them some stuff, and they were humble enough to actually learn. And, you know, I was stronger than them at the start. And then at the end, like, they were pulling weights and pushing weights way harder than I could have, just because they were just naturally bigger, meaner, stronger. Like, just, I turned them into monsters, and it turned into jokes afterwards when they're like, oh yeah, let's see you pick up this 600-pound deadlift, Eric. And I'm like, what you want at one hand? Like, all jokes aside, like, I've never even touched over 450. But it warms my heart actually dealing with somebody like, you know, humble monsters. I think Jordan Peterson talks about that a little bit. It's kind of the theory of like being a warrior in a garden versus a gardener in the war, or like controlling your inner monster.
There's something really special to seeing somebody that just commits to getting good at something. And like Martin Luther King, he's like, listen, you can be a street sweeper, but you do such a good job that all of heaven and earth recognizes this was a good job. And I love that. I made a post on that about the guy that actually cuts my hair, because I was like, I have never gone to the same person to have my hair cut in my life. And this guy, it's like, no, like he's passionate about it. He's awesome at it. Makes me feel better when I go there. So I'm going there. And it just was showing to me the value of continuing to get good and executing that for people. So when you find somebody that has that, it's interesting. It's this cool little balance. It was like my client, Kyle, he's a beast. He's a total beast. And he's also very humble and always learning.
Super.
And I sometimes have conversations with him about like, listen, I really appreciate your humility. I love that. But sometimes you got to own how good you are. And that time is in contest. Don't be looking to other people for the answer. You have the answer you need for today. Just go and do what you can do.
Yeah.
Own it and be confident.
He's a hilarious one too, because again, that humbleness, the true humbleness of real gym bros, is all love. And Kyle Winstanley is a guy, if he was in the gym with me, I'm like, Kyle, this is a 600-pound deadlift. You're a monster, bro. And he'll be like, I'm just trying to catch up to you, man. Like, I can't do the shit you can do. And I'm like, Kyle, get out of here. And it's like a little like back and forth, flirty. Like, it's love though. It's not ego. It's not like stepping down. Like, there's no punching down on anyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I address his strengths, he would address my strengths, and we both like gave each other like fist bump nod. Like, that's what it should be. That's what the culture should be. Like humility, humbleness, aside from competition. Totally different when we're talking about sport, but we're talking about just gym culture.
Yeah, you know, talking about this phase, it's this effect. It's really interesting, because I think we all need to check ourselves with getting on either side of that. I think it's so humble that it's like, I don't know anything. It's like, wait a second, I do have a background here.
That's what you slap me around for.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of understanding here, and what I'm learning right now is new challenges, a lot of things, but I can integrate that into what I already have, and it doesn't make me worse. It makes me better. And I was talking to somebody this past week, and I was like, yeah, you know what? People, once they go through a really challenging scenario, it brings them down a notch. It lets them know that they're human. And after you get through your 20s and 30s, it's like, well, listen, you're going to have something happen one day, and the way that you deal with that is going to dictate how life goes from there. And for me, the more challenging the circumstance is, the more it beats up the ego. And that can be a really good thing, because it makes it so you have more empathy, a better ability to communicate with people and understand where they might be coming from and all that sort of stuff. So this is a natural cycle. I think even the people that say, well, this is just the descent to a mean, or, you know, this is an objective measure, it's not that pronounced or whatever. It's like, yeah, but it is a phenomenon that exists, and I can tell you because I've been through it. I felt like I had a good understanding of one topic, and then I went to a new course for it, and it was like, man, my understanding needs to be way better.
Yeah. Well, even like mobility wise, like
totally
10 years ago, our approach to mobility versus now, I'm sure it's a pretty damn different approach.
Yeah, some of what I used to do is embarrassing. And I was trying.
And see, that's a point of humility or humbleness for you to admit that, like, I wasn't doing a very good job. Like,
compared to what I would do now, it's A, it's more simple. B, I've seen the effectiveness change as I move forward, but it's part of the growing process. And, for coaches, you got to give yourself some space to grow and know that everything that you do isn't going to be 100% perfect, but you're trying. Progress over perfection. And with clients, same thing. Progress over perfection. Are you making the progress right now? Well, if that's not the case, then just drop what you think you know and ask if there's another way of going about it. And you'll either find out it's not that effective, or you'll be like, oh man, I can add this in.
It's kind of exactly like you said, the example at your example of the start of this episode when you talked about the guy and his lats. Like, at least he was humble enough to give it the old college try. Maybe he didn't agree with you. Maybe because he wasn't totally open to it, but like, at least he tried. He gave it the old college try. Like, he was open enough to receive the information. Then you can decide to do with it what you will. Yeah. I think that's a big important part. Like, maybe like it wasn't the outcome that he was hoping for, or like understanding, or whatever the case may be, but it was open dialogue at least.
I think openness is a really, really big, important thing. And then the other piece is humility. I think those two things really go a long way. And those are things that I'm not always the best at, but when I am, I typically make the best results. So,
true facts. So the Dunning-Krueger effect, I think this was just a big topic summarized on being humble and continue learning always.
Yeah, knowing what's going to happen, and knowing sometimes even though you are learning more, you're going to feel like you know less.
Yeah.
Just knowing that's going to happen makes you feel better about it.
True facts. If I sound like a douchebag at this podcast, I'm sorry.
Why would you sound like a douche?
I don't know. I felt like I was crapping on people who say that they know everything.
We're talking about ourselves a fair chunk when we're talking about that, aren't we?
I know everything.
It's like, man, I've been to a spot where I thought I knew it.
True.
High school.
All right.
Thanks for being with us today. As per usual, like, subscribe, review, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us this week. We appreciate your support.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would subscribe, follow, and throw us a like on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.